Getting pictures of Kevin Costner sitting on our chair in Yellowstone. I don't know if you've seen this movie called Nobody. It's Bob Odenkirk. He's the guy that did Better Call Saul. So it was so funny that I mentioned this to my sales manager last week. And I said, hey, have you seen this movie? She said, no, I haven't seen it. It's like, you got to see it. It's great. So she comes into the office the next week and says, I saw the movie. And she holds up this product and she says, this is the sheer in that movie. There's a lot of pride in that. And so when a large company like Disney or if there's a Four Seasons or a large Marriott or whatever that wants to use our stuff, I mean, I know that it's going to be interacted with by potentially millions of people. You know, that's not something that we necessarily think about too much here, but it's true, right? The reach of that product is extreme. And so it is a significant privilege to be able to do something like that. And, you know, it helps it's also really motivating and empowering for our staff too, that they can see the stuff that they do out in the world and feel pride in having brought this product to market and see it being used for decades.
Good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Mindset Master Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Reed, and I'm also the proprietor of the podcast. Now, today we have a very special guest, Mr. Kevin Bibelhausen. After overcoming a COVID-related heart issue, Kevin leveraged his tech background to acquire a $10 million textile company in 2022. As CEO, he drives growth through digital transformation and employee empowerment. And I would like to welcome Mr. Kevin. How you doing today, sir?
Good. Glad to be here.
This should be a really interesting show right here, especially with the COVID related heart issue, and then that kind of it was like a springboard there. Now, would you mind taking us back, Kevin, to when you were a little boy? Like, how did it all get started? Like, did you know that you kind of wanted to be involved in like a tech business?
No, not at all. I when I look back and I see some of people's stories about their upbringing, and they say they're a natural born entrepreneur. They were selling candy bars out of their locker, or they were doing some kind of hustle, selling knives door to door, whatever they were doing. That really wasn't my story. I was a musician coming up, and in fact, like that's what I got my undergraduate degree in, and that's what I was going to go do. And it turns out that as I found out later in my life, first of all, it's very hard to make a living doing that. Second of all, when I went into I took a corporate job and found myself in the healthcare industry, and then eventually sort of in the technology function. I found out that even though I missed the music that I was doing, but what I missed more was being in control of my career, because as a musician, you kind of are the CEO of your own career, your own life, your own business. You're going out and you're trying to get work. You're going out and you're doing auditions. You're working on your craft, trying to get better. You're working on marketing. You're working on all this kind of stuff. And I missed being able to do that. I had been kind of interested in buying a business for a while. I didn't being in the technology space, I'd seen a lot of venture-backed startups kind of come and go and raise it insane valuations, and it just didn't feel like the right path for me. But I didn't quite know how to do entrepreneurship without doing the typical startup route. And then I read a book called that was published in 2017 called The Harvard Business Review Guide to Buying Small Businesses. And in this book, there's a specific story that stood out to me where the buyer of a business said that he wanted to acquire a porta potty business, and that's what he ended up acquiring. And the light bulb just kind of went off for me. I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to do something that's really buy something that's kind of boring, kind of just stable, kicks off cash, limited downside risk, kind of mitigating a lot of the risks that typical startup entrepreneurship kind of comes with. So my story is not necessarily one of like a typical entrepreneur. I kind of kept pivoting until I found a place where my skill set was best utilized.
I love that, Kevin, because I'm actually the same way. I was a barber for like 25 years here in Tennessee. I kind of got tired of doing that, and then what I wound up doing, I wound up writing a movie script about my life, about like the negative events that happened in my life. Yeah. And then so I wound up leaving Tennessee, and I went out to California and like Arizona, and I was like on like a screenwriting career. And like you had mentioned about being the musician, it's kind of sound like the same thing, because like I was the CEO of my own self, but then it was like I didn't like the way how that control was of my life. I wanted to be in control of my life, and kind of like you, I kept pivoting. I had like a hair care business, I had a coffee and tea business, me and my wife did one side, I got into coaching and like mindset, that's where I really found like my actual niche in life or whatnot, because that's where I can utilize my best self at in this field here. All the other things that I've done, all my other business ventures, they were fine, but it didn't give me the fulfillment that I have now in life. So I love that, Kevin.
Don't you feel too that, one of the things, the test that I had gone throughout in my career, and it's like, can I be doing this in 20 years? Is this something I'm going to be wanting to do when I'm 50 or when I'm 60? This is the first time I've been able to say yes. Like I enjoy what I'm doing enough that I don't see, pivoting to another career or doing so. I imagine it's the same for you. Once you find that fit, it's hard to describe, but once it clicks into place, this is where I need to be. This is what I need to be doing.
Yes, sir. The same way for me. Like I said, once it clicked in, like you said, like it's with the barbering, I thought that was going to be it for me, Kevin, because like I'm the 10th generation in my family. And I just thought like, granddaddy did it, daddy did it, great granddaddy did it, gets on down. And I was like, okay, this is going to be my life. But once I got about 23 or 24, I was like, hold on, I kind of want to do something different. I kind of want to try a difference because I'm not really fulfilled. I'm making, really good money, but money is not the fulfillment that I need. I need to be actually happy in life and fulfilled. So yes, I definitely resonate with that right there, Kevin.
That's awesome.
I noticed on the introduction here that you had overcame a COVID-related heart issue. Would you kind of mind like tapping on that? So like, were you already like in the music field when this happened, or was you in like your other line of work when the COVID issue happened?
No, I was deep in my healthcare technology career. At that point, I was deputy chief information officer for a large public health system. I mean, it was kind of all hands on deck for COVID through 2020, as you might imagine, being in a hospital. And I ended up getting sick 2021, January, February 2021. I got the COVID infection or COVID virus. And what it ended up making my heart go from about the size of a fist to about the full size of my chest. And basically what I was told is I got to the emergency department and everything. And I thought it was some sort of like gastro issue. Like I just felt really full and like I was throwing up and all this kind of stuff. And, within 5 minutes of me being in the emergency department, they said, you're going to need a heart transplant. I was 30. I mean, that was the absolute last thing I expected anybody to say. But from that point on, it was the rest of the year was spent in recovery. I was in and out of the hospital a number of different times. I had I don't know if you know what a PICC line is, but it's basically just like a semi-permanent IV that goes in your arm. That's like a central line right to your heart. So I had a continuous infusion of what the cardiologist would call rocket fuel for your heart, just keeping me alive. And then, I would be on oral medications. Fortunately, I was able to recover enough that I didn't have to have the transplant. And I was just lucky that I was working at a hospital that, was the teaching hospital for one of the best cardiac programs in the country at UT Southwestern. I'm just fortunate, that way. Going through that whole experience, as anybody who's gone through some kind of, life trauma like that, you can't help but be changed by that experience. For me, it was basically realizing that I wasn't living up to my full potential. Not that the work I was doing wasn't fulfilling or it wasn't good work. It was just not what I wanted to be doing. I wanted to be working for myself and owning my own business and having these, being in control of my own destiny. I wasn't in control of my own destiny working for somebody else in a hospital, but I wanted to kind of take the reins of my own career and do it. And so I had tried to buy a business back in 2018, got it to about, the altar, we're about to get married, and then it falls through for, any number of reasons. And then so I just kind of went back to my corporate job and, then COVID happened and then I got sick. And then getting sick kind of springboarded me into this new phase where I was 100% all in. I ended up quitting that job. I took on some consulting work just to pay the bills, but then I looked for a business pretty much full time and then acquired the business within a year of looking. And I moved my family from Dallas to Charlotte, North Carolina to acquire this business, which was good for a couple different reasons. It was nice to change the scenery after a traumatic event like that and just kind of do a reset. But I got to move to a new part of the country where I'm lucky that it's kind of the hotbed. It's the historical central place, the central region in the U.S. for textiles and furniture. And so I kind of bought a business that's right in the hub of all of this, which, again, was kind of dumb luck. You just kind of keep taking those opportunities as they come to you and things sort of start to work out. Once you have that determination, once you have that mindset to just kind of keep going, to keep chipping away and put your mind to actually accomplishing the goal that you want to accomplish, I was able to pull that off.
I left Tennessee Tennessee maybe like 2017 to pursue my screenwriting career. And then from like 2017 to like 2019, I was out in Cali. And when 2019 hit, kind of like about that November-ish to like December-ish of 2019, I had wound up working for this medical company, and they had just gave me my insurance policy. I was at work and I kept seeing about on the news, but this was when they was calling it the coronavirus. It wasn't the COVID, it was the corona. And then I told my wife, I said, baby, because we was working around like 150 people in this medical like open floor plan office. And I said, baby, I don't feel right. She said, Tony, what's wrong? I feel weak. I feel depleted. I feel like a dish rag. I feel just wrung out. And she said, let's go to urgent care. Went to urgent care, Kevin. They was like, yeah, Mr. Reed, you just got a common cold, man. You know, drink some orange juice. In 14 days, you'll be all right. So 14 days later, I went back to the doctor. I said, Doc, I'm sweating and I'm just, getting, like sicker and sicker. They said, Mr. Reed, I think you got the corona. I said, corona? I don't even drink beer. What are you talking about, corona? It was like, they said, nah, Mr. Reed, we ain't talking about the beer. It's a virus going around. You hadn't heard it on the news? I was like, nah, I don't really watch the news too much. I'm like, I will now though. I kind of got over that. And then we was like, me and my wife and I was like, you know what? Let's leave Arizona. And we was in the height of it, Kevin. And we left Arizona and drove all the way out to Florida. We drove to Tampa, Florida. And at that point, that's when it went to like the COVID-19 and then like the world was like locked down. And so I was like, man, like I don't have a job. Like, what am I going to do? Like, because we left Arizona and we came to Florida to live a new life, but the world is shut down. How am I going to make money? Like, what am I going to do? Because I've been barbering my whole life and I'm used to being at work to make money. Mm-hmm. Now, what am I going to do in the house, in this condominium? What am I going to do here until the world opens back up? And I was like, so let me get into like e-com. Let me do something like that where I can like ship stuff out and stuff like that from the house. That's kind of what I did during that time right there, Kevin, because I had to, like you said, I had to pivot. I had to do something different. And then my grandfather, he had came down with the COVID. At that time, he was like 82, 80, 83, something like that. And he has sugar diabetes. He has radiation and all of that going on. So it actually messed up his liver and kidneys. And still in today's time, Kevin, he's still suffering from that. He's actually not all the way back right. And so he's always at the doctor and stuff like that. And the doctor just said, Mr. Reed, we can do like these transplants, but with your older age, your wiser age in life, I don't think that's real kind of wise to do that, sir. So my granddad, he's kind of, I ain't gonna say he's kind of stuck with it, but he's kind of, dealing with it because he doesn't want to have surgery because of his, golden age in life like that. So yeah, that's like you said, it's the mindset, because my granddad, even though he knows he's kind of stuck with this, he really can't do anything about it per se, but his mindset is so positive about it, Kevin. He's like, you know what, I'm gonna just live my life to the best of my ability, not gonna let nothing and nobody stop me. And that just inspires me, Kevin, to see my granddad, like a man almost 90 years old, so positive when he's so sick. We'll resume the regularly scheduled program momentarily. Now, once you're on the inside of the Mindset Mastery Academy, the first thing that you will notice is going to be the layout. On the left, this is going to be all of the things that are going to be included inside of the Mindset Mastery Academy. We have videos for a positive mindset. We have motivational quotes. We have mindset and mental health. We have affirmation cards. We have digital planners. We have blogs. We have coupons and monthly deals. And we also have ebooks and audiobooks. And then you can easily download any of these right here. We have the Success Roadmap Digital Planner. And this is a 170-page digital planner. You can print this out and actually do it on old school pencil and paper. And if you have any issues, you can always reach out to me and my team directly at info@TonyReedCo. And another thing that we have, monthly hot seats. Once you're inside the Mindset Mastery Academy, all of your personal problems become the group's problems. If you're going through a struggle in life, if you have a burden in life that you're going through, and you can ask any kind of questions, anything that you want to know, the group is here to help. And I just wanted to quickly talk to you about this amazing opportunity to join the Mindset Mastery Academy. Now, back to your regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, I think you have a choice, right? The only thing you can really control is how you react to something. Mm-hmm. And you can either, kind of have a pity party and fold and let it crush you, or you can let it kind of drive you towards something else, or, just make the best of what you have left. And it sounds like, your grandfather's made the right choice.
Yes,
and
yes.
I can empathize with that, having been through it. It would have been easy to kind of just say, well, screw it. Here I am. These are the cards I've been dealt, but I was determined to to recover and get out of there and actually do the things that I wanted to accomplish in life.
Now, with your textile factory, Kevin, do you like make clothes, or do you make like gun cleaning patches? Like, what do you do at your textile factory?
Yeah, so we do primarily home textiles, so drapery, upholstery, so things for furniture, things for the window. We also do a lot in hospitality, so a lot of hotels. Chances are, you've seen our stuff in TV and film. I mean, we've been in Yellowstone, we've been in Star Wars, we've got stuff in the Disney costumes all over, in performances all over the world. They got stuff. We just did a project in Shanghai for Disney Shanghai. I mean, it's crazy. So we don't have, we're kind of like a private label business, if you want to like compare it to e-commerce, where like our name doesn't necessarily appear on the actual product, but we make a lot of the product that goes into some of these other different companies.
And that's kind of how it was in my haircut business, because at first, Kevin, I used to think it was admirable for me to be in the kitchen mixing stuff and making conditioner. And I spent like $30,000 on all these products. And I realized that they got an expiration date. This stuff can't stay in a garage all day. Yeah. So what I done was I hooked up with this company overseas, and they was, like you said, like private labeling, and they would, just put my label around it, and it was all FDA approved. Everything was legit. So I was like, so that I'm gonna keep doing things like that versus me spending my time, my effort trying to make it. Because, again, back to me cutting hair, I thought that you had to actually be physically present to make money. Now I'm a guy, I just let somebody else deal with it, and I just put my name on it and rock and roll.
100%. Yeah, that's the function we serve. We're basically the supplier for a lot of these sales and marketing companies.
You had mentioned that you have like stuff in the costume realm for Disney and like you in Shanghai. Now that's a huge accomplishment right there, Kevin. And I know that's probably like a lot of weight and like a lot of pressure on you. Would you mind telling me about your mindset in those situations? Like when Disney is one of those big wigs like that comes to you and say, hey, Kevin, I want to use your green fabric to make a costume for XYZ superhero. Like, how does it make you feel, man? Like that's huge.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I really wanted coming out of sort of the technology space, where a lot of things were done. Most of the stuff that any hardware, any physical product that we would have is usually sitting in a closet somewhere, or it'd be software that you can't really touch. The thing about buying a physical product business is that you can see your stuff in the wild, out in real life. We see our stuff twice a year at High Point Furniture Market. So we go and we see our stuff on different furniture companies, frames and all this stuff, and that's wonderful. But getting pictures of Kevin Costner sitting on our chair in Yellowstone, or getting a picture of I think it was the first Star Wars of the new trilogy. I can't remember the name of it now, but like there's a specific scene when they're in the desert, they're wearing our stuff. There's just different things like that. You're like, in fact, there was I don't know if you've seen this movie called Nobody. It's Bob Odenkirk. He's the guy that did Better Call Saul. So it was so funny that I mentioned this to my sales manager last week, and I said, hey, have you seen this movie? She said, no, I haven't seen it. It's like, you got to see it, it's great. So she comes into the office the next week and says, I saw the movie, and she pulls up this product and she says, this is the sheer in that movie. I've seen the movie 4 or 5 times. I love that movie now. It's like, of course, I mean, like, I don't recognize it because I've only owned the business for a year and it's an older product, but it's our product, and seeing your stuff in on TV, just in live, being interacted with, is so cool, that you've actually created something, or you've brought something to the market that people are actually using. I think there's a lot of pride in that. And so when a large company like Disney, or if there's a Four Seasons or a large Marriott or whatever that wants to use our stuff, I mean, I know that it's going to be interacted with by potentially millions of people. That's not something that we necessarily think about too much here, but it's true, right? The reach of that product is extreme. And so it is a significant privilege to be able to do something like that. And, it helps it's also really motivating and empowering for our staff too, that they can see the stuff that they do out in the world and feel pride in having brought this product to market and see it being used for decades. Human beings are they're not kind of incredible. They are incredible. And what the resilience that we have, and we can put up with a lot of stuff, and we can kind of soldier through and take a lot of pain, because we're persistent. We those of us who have our eyes on the prize and have a goal that we're working towards, we can be relentless about it. And it all is in how you show up. Like you could have been easily, terrified of doing that transaction with somebody of her stature, but you feel like you've prepared for the moment. You embrace the moment, right? It's not going to be perfect. There's some fear there, but you just sort of take it in stride and figure it out, right? That's the best anybody can do, and have that mindset going forward. I mean, is really, I think, a major key to life.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I actually got that tattoo going down my spine. Like, fear is only temporary. Yes, yes, I have that, because when I was 18, I used to be real fearful of things. I was like, oh my God, this is going on. I'm like, I can't do this. But then once I really started meditating, that's what really helped me, Kevin, really changed my brain set and kind of turned my mindset around with like meditation. Because at first, when I was younger, I used to think meditation was praying. I was like, man, I'm not going to be meditating. I'm not going to see me on my knees and praying and stuff like that. But once I listened to this tape that my grandmother had allowed me to listen to, and I was like, Mama, what is he doing? She was like, well, he's meditating, son. I said, sound like he's praying. And she was like, no, you need to meditate to get yourself together, because she said, long as you always take care of yourself, everything gets to fall in position. So like, mindset, man, is absolutely critical. If you're ready to take your journey of mindset mastery to the next level and dive even deeper into mindfulness and also meditation, well, I've got a fantastic resource just for you. Inside, you're going to find step-by-step instructions, valuable insight, and also practical exercises to help you enhance your mindset and bring more positive changes to your life. This guide is the roadmap to success. To get your hands on this exclusive resource, click the link below in the description. And that kind of segues us, Kevin, to my next question here. Now, what is one piece of advice that you wouldn't mind passing on to someone else who's listening right now?
I think there's a couple ways I would attack this, and it really is a nice summary of what we've been talking about, that you really can do a lot more than you're capable of doing, a lot more than you think you are. You're never going to feel ready to do anything, but as long as if you have a goal and you're determined to meet that goal and you just keep showing up, something good is going to happen to you, and it may not turn out exactly the way that you thought it was going to turn out, but you're gonna get a heck of a lot further and probably land where you're supposed to land if you just keep showing up and embracing the opportunities that come across your path. We can always, the grass is always greener. You look at somebody else, they're having so much success, they're doing this. But if you focus on what you want to do and you kind of keep moving forward and you just keep plugging away, I really do believe that those people end up being successful.
Thank you for that. That was very, very good. Thank you so much. My next question is going to be now about the employee empowerment. And this is about like with the textile effect. With employee empowerment, you don't really hear a lot of CEOs talking about employee empowerment. That's like a taboo kind of thing. Now, how has employee empowerment really grown your business?
I was fortunate in that when I bought this business, the owner prior to me, his family had some health issues, so he wasn't super involved in the business for the last few years. So the employees really were running the show, which is great. It was a pretty self-sufficient business. When I came in, I noticed that we had a general manager, a VP of operations, who had been given all this responsibility, but he was only one man. He was serving as the sales manager and the product manager and the customer service manager and the operations manager. There's one guy, and he's in his mid 60s, right? He's not some spring chicken or anything. And it's just unfair. It's unfair for one person to have all of those responsibilities. So I came in, and that's not a criticism or anything of the previous, ownership. It's the way it was. And so when I came in, one of the first things I identified, and we've started to spread out some of his responsibilities so he can focus on the things that he's the best at, and then managing this group of people underneath of him. I promoted somebody into a sales manager role. I promoted somebody into an operations manager role and product manager role. And we started kind of making sure that he can delegate and that these employees feel empowered to take control of their departments. Some of them are small departments, but that's okay. They still have ownership over this. Like you own the warehouse, right? So here's what that looks like, and here's what success looks like for the warehouse. And then now I have warehouse guys coming up to to me, talking to me about, how we beat last January sales. They just want to ship more product. They're proud of the fact that they're shipping. Now, they don't see another nickel for shipping more product, but they want to do it. They want to see the business succeed. They want to see the business grow. In the future, I want to be able to compensate employees, like to do like a stock program and everything here. We're not quite there yet, but that's where I want to go. So they are incentivized, as the business grows, that they receive, financial rewards for the work that they put in. But no, it's basically been giving people control over certain aspects of the business and letting them cook. And there's a specific factory or there's a couple, I want to work with one specific factory that we're kicking the tires on, and I gave it to, instead of having me do all the work and do all the vetting and do all the meetings and I gave it to a couple of these senior employees, and I said, let me know what happens, and that's, I've started to give a little bit of projects like that, or a piece of software, and I said, let me know what happens here. So why don't you go do the due diligence, see what the pricing is, see if you think it's useful for us, come back to me, let me know, and then I'll join the call and we can have a purchasing decision. It's taking those steps to give people responsibility that otherwise they wouldn't have had, and have them kind of grow into that role. This company, so this company's had 3 owners. So it had the founder back in the early 2000s. He owned it for 10 years, sold it to the next guy, owned it for 10 years, and I bought it. So the company has actually gone through 3 different shifts in culture. Initially, it was kind of dictatorial, and everything flowed through the founder. And so the employees really weren't empowered to do any of that. When the next owner came in, he had a lot of work to do in breaking down those barriers and giving people a lot more responsibility and freedom, and he did a great job with that. And then my job is to come in and then be able to scale, yes. because the previous owner went through all that hard work of sort of deprogramming the employees to think that only the boss makes the decision, to I can make the decision, I feel empowered to make this decision, and I own the success and I own the failure. I've found that to be rewarding for them, and that's the feedback that I've been getting, is that they enjoy the culture that we're putting in here of employee empowerment. As long as they try and they put something out there and they do their best, like, that's all I can ask. That's not always going to be perfect, and I can cover for a lot of the downsides or the negatives that happen, but the negatives and the downsides are mine, and the upsides and the positive and the praise and the accolades are theirs when something goes right. That's part of being in the ownership seat. Employee empowerment's been a huge thing for us, and something I look to continue, especially as we scale and grow the business.
Once I stopped writing screenplays, I had to have another source of income. I haven't started with the medical company yet. When I came down with the corona, it was a little gap when I didn't have employment, but I was living off of my savings from my bank account. So I went to a car lot, Kevin, and I was selling like Lamborghinis, Ferraris, like exotic type of cars, stuff like that. The first day on my shift, the guy said, "Reed, I'm gonna tell you something. As the sales manager, I am not going to tell you how to sell no car, Reed. I'm gonna just let you have the empowerment to do what you want to do. And we're gonna sit back and we're gonna see what you're gonna do, Mr. Reed." I said, "Okay, hey, thanks, man." On my second day, Kevin, I sold an $85,000 car because of that employee empowerment. If people would let the employees do what they want to do, I'm not saying it like the aspect with, in like that, but just everything is condensed or whatnot, but just give them that creative ability to help the customers. I bet you a lot of companies would make a whole lot more money, because the employees who are in the customer service departments, that's like your front facing line. That's like your military of your company right there. And so if you don't allow those good people to do what they need to do to make the transaction and to make the customer happy, you could lose customers.
Yeah, it's you said the word creativity multiple times, and I really do think that's the key, that you're able to utilize the creativity of other people to grow and scale the company. And because if you're the single creative source, quote unquote, in your business, you have a ceiling, right, that you can't grow beyond, because everything has to run through you. Whereas if you're able to leverage your full staff and let them be as creative as they can possibly be, within the constraints of the business, then you virtually have an unlimited trajectory that you could be on, because you just can keep adding people and growing. And as long as you have good systems in place, right, to sort of scale that, and have creativity within, the framework of your company, I mean, the sky's the limit. That's the exciting part, is like when you're finally able to like kill that ego where you have to be in control of everything, and you're comfortable kind of taking that back seat, for lack of a better word, and letting the employees kind of do their thing. You're just setting them up for success. It almost feels like your job isn't to be the all-time, leading scorer on the team. Like, you're the point guard. Just facilitate, just distribute, and solve the problems as they come along, but just pass the ball and let them do their thing. That's the role I enjoy the most.
Now, my next question is going to be, and this is the last question right here, because this has been a really good show. How can our listeners of the Mindset Master podcast, if they're sitting back at home and working in their car listening to this, and they're like, man, I'm really feeling Kevin, like I'm really digging what he's saying, I want to know Kevin more. How can our followers get in touch with you, Kevin?
Fortunately, I'm pretty easy to find online. There's not many people with the last name Bibelhausen. So you can actually find me at my last name.com. So Bibelhausen.com. You can send me an email there. All my social media stuff is there. The thing I'll say, like, in response to my experience in buying this company, I also went through a capital raise process, and the whole thing taught me that, there are plenty of entrepreneurs out there, or aspiring entrepreneurs, who would be great at operating a business, but don't necessarily know how to raise money. I had to learn, but I don't think that should be necessarily a hurdle to getting into this kind of space. With a couple partners, I started a fund that actually invests into companies that just like mine, where people were, somebody is acquiring a business, and we deploy capital into that and back a sponsor to buy a business. So if you're interested in kind of the whole business buying route, feel free to reach out. If you're interested in making an investment as an accredited investor into a fund that's buying companies just like the one I bought, and you could see some of our examples, through our fund's website, which I'm happy to point you to. It's a really exciting time to be part of this space, because we see a lot of really smart people are coming in to do this, and they're getting out of finance, they're getting out of venture capital and all of that, and they're coming into businesses that are on Main Street, and they're putting their intellectual horsepower to work, actually building the local economies, and not just going to the coast necessarily, but they're going to Toledo, Ohio, or they're going to Pittsburgh, or they're going to Dallas, or they're going to where all these companies are located, and putting their oftentimes great education and great networks and operations chops to good use, building up the Main Street of the city that they relocated to. So it's a fun thing to be a part of, and I'd be happy to hear from anyone who's interested in that, or just got their curiosity sparked by this conversation.
Perfect. That's beautiful, Kevin. And then what I'll do, sir, I'll put all your links in the bottom of our show notes here, so that way I guess can quickly boop and go to all your information here. I would like to again say thank you so much, Kevin, for being on the Mindset Master podcast. And until next time, I'll catch you later.